So continuing where we left off at Ramjoo's Diaries, November 20th, 1923, a dry picnic. This afternoon, Baba and the rest of the Mandali, accepting those hunting after jobs and doing service, started by tram from Soldier Bazaar for an evening out. After undergoing the usual change at the cantonment, we got down near the station. From here, we walked to Clifton, the sea promenade, and without taking rest there for 15 minutes, returned back in the scorching sun to the tramway and reached Halt Ho just at a time when one goes out for a walk in the cool of the evening. The whole excursion proved far from anything like going out for an airing, but on the contrary, it was a regular sweating job, as if undertaken in sympathy of those actually working and of those in search of jobs. November 21, 1923, heavy atmosphere. The time and surroundings bear a peculiarly dull and dry atmosphere nowadays, so much so that doctor asked Baba for permission to go to Pune this morning, as he said he was disgusted, probably with the unsettled settlement in the Halt Ho, upon which Baba not only granted the same, but also added his permission for Doctor to return back to him whenever he liked. A notable fact that we witnessed since our stay here was that of coming to know through Vajifdar's letter that a couple of days ago, Navrozji had been to the Persian consul at Bombay to get the latter's endorsement on our respective passports. But the consul refused to endorse them unless he saw all of us personally, excepting Baba's own passport, which he duly endorsed, saying he had seen Baba in his office when Baba told him that he, Baba, would send his passport with his man for him, the consul, to endorse just a few days ago. Well, we know for a fact that not only we have been having Baba in our midst for the last 1.5 months out of Bombay, but that Baba has never been near the Persian consulate, far short of ever having seen the Persian consul. November 22nd, 1923, another surprise. Since putting up in the Halt Ho and until I get a job, I have been given the duty of sweeping the whole of the premises every morning. It was while sweeping that I saw Baba confer with Bailey for a few minutes in private, quickly followed by a discussion which Baba started with the Mandali in general. First, I could not trust my ears to have correctly picked up the topic, but to my pleasant surprise, I was right in hearing for the second time that the discussion was on Baba's proposal to start for Pune immediately. This time, however, the surprising idea of getting back to Bombay side so soon really materialized into a great surprise. After quick and hasty preparations, we all found ourselves at the docks, ready to embark on our first voyage by 2:30 p.m. Having come to know, while discussing about returning to Pune this morning, that a boat was to leave for Bombay this evening, all preferred to have the experience of a voyage to that of going by train. Thus, in such a wonderfully short time, we managed to make ourselves comfortable on the upper deck of the SS Vita, together with all our luggage, which, as usual, was all removed by ourselves from the horse-drawn carriage to the boat through the overcrowded gangways. The following hour or so, we witnessed a very great din and hustle bustle. At 4:12 p.m., the steamer weighed anchor amidst touching as well as humorous scenes of those who had come to see their friends and relations off. It was all a fascinating scene, and every minute of the progress of the steamer presented additions to the bird's eye view of Karachi. But we were not allowed to engage ourselves thus, but on the contrary, all were ordered to pick rice amidst the hustle bustle. A very trying job indeed under the circumstances. After taking meals, we retired for sleep on the deck at 9 p.m. I had to get up again at 11 to keep watch up till 12, as it has been settled to do so every hour, turn by turn, throughout the night. Mayor Daruvala, would you like to unmute and continue?
Jai Baba. Kutch Mandir. Last night was passed rather uncomfortably on account of the strong winds blowing throughout the upper deck, which provides but little protection therefrom. At about 7 a.m., the steamer touched Kutch Mandir, and for the first time, I had a look at my native land, as if in commemoration of the incident, of course, through doctor's mischief. Baba made me tie a piece of cloth round my back, so very characteristic of the Orthodox Kutchi, and talk of Kutchi language with the fellow passengers who had just boarded. Thanks to the hustle bustle of about 800 passengers, that boarded steamer at this port, this whole incident reminded unnoticed by the outsiders, and thus only the Mandalis could enjoy the joke at my cost. A busy day. At 12:30 past Dwarka, while late in the afternoon at 4:30, the ship dropped anchor near Porbandar, which seemed to be a beautiful little town. Thus, the whole day was well passed, and as if the engagement was not sufficient, a Parsi gentleman took a sudden fancy towards the Mandali, as it was quite natural for him to do so, considering extraordinary mood of our living. But unlike the other passengers, he could not remain a passive onlooker, as he seemed to know our Bailey, so quiet, suddenly, just as we were about to take our meals, which had just been distributed by Baba, the gentleman appeared on the scene and by way of opening discussion began to bombard us with a question and counter questions as to our general mode of living and our vegetarian food in particular. Of course, we tried our best in giving him a reasonable hearing as well as explaining him as far as we could, but the gentleman did not seem satisfied. I am hanged if anyone can ever understand a saint or his actions through very common sense and logic only. Hence, though I admit, though I hence, though I admit that the gentleman was so very inquisitive, with a good motive because of his well-known philanthropic activity in Karachi, yet for us proved a regular nuisance. However, we did our best in facing him squarely. Arrange argument after argument. Second tour, North India. Throughout the day, and if Mr. Khandalawala still remains dissatisfied, as can be even he did through his newspaper article, I think it not due to the lack of giving information on our part, but he was to thank his own power of limited understanding. The article appeared in the Parsi newspaper of 30th December 1923. Of course, it does not give a complete virgin truth version of the affairs of voyage, but it gives a means of seeing us through others' eyes. For example, in the article, the writer says that while the discussion was going on, Meher Baba was taking notes. Well, I know for certain that Baba never pays serious attention to such discussion so as even to take formal part in it, far short of taking notes, but the writer perhaps might have misunderstood Baba's writing instructions for some of us to write letters accordingly, and this shows how people are innocently become the victims of spreading false rumors about others. After reaching Bombay, Baba decided to pass some time in seclusion in an unknown station without letting even the Mandali know where, save a few, and thus it has already been settled for. All remain at their respective places for that time. Baba's unknown movements. Mandali disappeared. At about 9 this morning, Bombay began to discern faintly, as if a city in the clouds, by it began to be more clear. And after some time, a grand view of this grand city lay before us. However, it took a couple of hours more for the steamer to get alongside the docks. At 11:30, we got down at the Victoria docks with clockwork regularly as per plan settled in the steamer. Nervous Lamson and Padri, who were to stay in Bombay, separated while the rest of us walked up to the Victoria terminus. Save Baba and a couple more who came by Victoria direct. From the docks, Adi Masaji booked for Ahmednagar, Behramji and Baidul for Pune, while the remainder of us, Baba, Gastaji, Doctor and myself, took tickets for Lonavala. We all started by the Pune Express as per his wish. We took a very precaution of keeping Baba's present journey strictly secret. Coincidentally, Doctor's father suddenly appeared on the platform and about for a quick action of taking him to another compartment already. Our precautions would have been in vain. It was with some effort that Baba's presence in the train was successfully kept out of his knowledge throughout the journey.
Thanks, Mayor.
Welcome.
Mahu, could you unmute and continue, please?
As a further precaution of keeping Baba's visit to Lonavala private, Baba and Gustaji got down at Khandala, where it was arranged that myself and the doctor would bring them a conveyance from Lonavala. Accordingly, both of us got down at Lonavala, and as soon as we could, secured Mr. Abdul Tayyib's car, as well as a bungalow near Walban, which was in his charge too. After instructing the gardener to open and clean the bungalow, we rushed back towards Khandala, but as expected, we found Baba. We're now on page 275. Midway, walking toward Lonavala, we found Baba midway, walking towards Lonavala. After Baba and Gustaji took seat, the motor was turned back and we came direct to bungalow. But in spite of all this, Dr. Biwalkar, who knows Baba well, saw us a while passing near his dispensary. Although I came to know afterwards that he did not see Baba, yet on account of passing in his sight, Baba allowed me to inform him of this visit, and of course, to tell him to keep it to himself. Thus, with these few exceptions, Baba's present visit to Lonavala is not known even to the Mandali at large, as well as Baba's relatives at Pune. The main topic of the day was the discussions about the most suitable site where Baba can pass a certain time in quiet solitude without food and water, as well as with the least chance of being disturbed. November 28, 1923. The title is Search After Solitude. The last 2 or 3 days remained uneventful. The time was generally passed in talks and a spin in the car about Lonavala. This morning, we all motored to the municipal lakes for Baba to approve the site to pass his solitude period, but it did not quite attract him. On the contrary, the bungalow was preferred by Baba to be better, and if it could be occupied for a longer period, a month or two free, Baba declared his willingness to put up there. In that case, he said, even myself and doctor were also not to come unless called for, but only Gustaji was to live near the room in which Baba would confine himself. Hence, upon our request, Mr. Abdul Tayyib went to Bombay to arrange for a free, prolonged occupation of the bungalow by us. But before getting the final reply, Baba began to favor Ahmednagar's side. And after some time, we got Mr. Abdul Tayyib's wire that the bungalow owners intended coming to stay themselves, and hence it could not be had for a longer period. There's a typo. Vajifdar was wired to come to Lonavala under Baba's instructions today. Having come to know of the recent failure of Abdullah's case, I was not in the best of spirits, and the nasty mood dragged me into an unpleasant discussion with Baba too. Now we're on November 29, 1923. The unknown destination. As per the telegram, Vajifdar duly came to Lonavala this morning. After some discussions, it was finally decided by Baba to leave for some unknown station towards Ahmednagar. Vajifdar, after getting necessary instructions, left for Bombay by the evening express. Baba came to the station some time in advance, but kept himself in the car until the train was actually on the platform. By that time, the driver managed to inform his house people, and together with them, a good many more people swarmed round the car for Baba's blessing. Baba was pleased to permit Messrs. Abdul Tayyib, Papamyan, and Bibalkar to be present at the station. At about 8:30 p.m., Baba and Gustaji left Lonavala for the first time for an unknown destination. The eczema that has affected me for a long time has caused me great inconvenience every now and then, but strangely enough, it has taken a very serious aspect since this very evening, holding out a very troublesome future for some time. December 29, 1923. Title is After the Lapse of a Month. As far as it concerns me personally, I think if I had, as usual, kept on writing the diary daily since Baba's departure completely a month ago, and in the absence of any news about Baba since he left, it would have been a long, momentous narration of a terrible experience that I underwent through the ferocious eczema that has got an unshakable hold on me to this day. Thus, it was a pleasant surprise for me to receive a letter today from Baba, written by himself, full of news about him personally and the whole quote-unquote dark period of the last month. Baba's letter. Dear Ramjoo, you must have by now, through Bailey, come to know of my trip to Pune and also the occurrences there during my presence, which you should please make dear doctor aware of. And as you have every claim to know the change of my program, system, and movement, read the following and inform it to doctor alone, and both of you keep the matter a dead secret. From the 1st December till yesterday, I continually observed 34 hours fast, and from yesterday I have increased it to 40 hours. Thus, every 40 hours I will remain without food and water, and in the remaining 8 hours I will take liquid and fruit, not grain. Thus, in every 48 hours, 40 hours complete fast, and 8 hours eating and drinking, and this will continue till the 31st of January by the help of the Almighty. From the 1st of February, I will begin eating regularly. Most probably, this will be my system till the 31st January. But if my health fails, I am growing weaker day by day. I'll give up this fast system from the 1st of January and keep on liquid throughout any time of the day in the month of January and begin eating regularly from February 1st.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thanks so much, Mahu. Very nice. Mayor, could you unmute? Mayor Karan?
Yeah, thanks. After leaving Pune, I came to Sholapur. Know it by yourself, inquire of none and inform none in brackets. After leaving Pune, I came to Sholapur, and on the 31st of the month, I will leave for Bombay. Thus, during the whole month of January, I will stay at Bombay in a room Wajifdar will rent for the 3 of us. In brackets again, inform none please. On the 20th, you, doctor, and the rest of the Mandali will be called to join me at Bombay. Have no anxiety about any matter. Don't try to reply to me. By the 5th, you will receive at your Lonavala address. God bless you and doctor. Let doctor read this letter. Signed, Mayor 1. December 30th, 1923. Baba's other favor. Today, I received another gracious favor from Baba, which also I reproduce here under. Dear Ramjoo, I hope you have received my yesterday's letter sent care of doctor. Now listen. You should be present at Lonavala station on 31st noon at 5:30. We 3 will be going to Bombay by the Madras fast passenger. You and doctor alone should be present on the station. and you should inform none, not even Abdul Taib and Papamyan. And with you bring one bottle full of fresh made cocoa in pure milk. Doctor knows how to prepare it. After seeing me at the station, you will then have to remain at Lonavala for 20 days more. I have grown very weak physically. While writing this, my hands were shaking. Signed, Mirwan. Last night was the most terrible one for me, and this morning I am left a physical wreck. So I am going to break the fast system and stay on liquid only till the 31st of January. You may note down in your diary, if you like, the system I followed this month, and I'm going to follow the next month. Signed, Mirwan. Baba's movements. These letters speak for themselves thoroughly about Baba's personal condition during the period of the last month. As to his movements, I came to know afterwards that they were not less limited, including visits to Sholapur and tramps about Arangaon under trying circumstances, which can well be imagined considering Baba's fasting program. This much is certain that, as originally declared, Baba did not pass a long period in solitude. Hence, it is also probable that such circumstances, in the brackets, that of separating from the Mandali, would happen again, as it has repeatedly been heard of Baba that he has to pass about 30 to 40 days all alone in a cave or room without food or water some day in the future. And further, there were enough hints given at such times to show that this sitting in solitude will be the most important and the last action towards the perfection of the circle. The why and wherefore of such actions are beyond the grasp of the common limited senses, and the following cutting extracted from an old issue of the Bombay Chronicle contains an interesting discourse on this very subject. On spirituality, it is a common practice to describe the processes of nature, physiological development. For instance, in terms of evolutionary theory, as unfolding potentialities which it contains from the first, being regulated by scientific formulae according to the progress of human investigation. Can such restricted or regulated definition be given for the domain of mind, or rather for the higher form of thought, say soul or spirituality? Up to a certain point, education, emotion, aestheticism, and general culture no doubt play a great part in the formation of ideas. But for the higher conception of the ideal of human existence, the mind transgresses the so-called limits of the knowledge and transcends all external rules, and the soul refuses to conform to the law of this world's ordering. This stage of mentality is not passive, as is popularly misconceived. Spiritual development is creative, as it fashions life by new qualities and powers. It is dominant and more energetic than what people think it to be. In this domain, the sages and prophets of all times and countries have revealed, showing the true developments of our manhood and guided human destiny with irresistible force, with a living faith which is intensely personal. December 31st, 1923, Baba's blessing. As per the instructions, we prepared the cocoa in milk and saw Baba on the station en route to Bombay this evening. With Baba's permission, we also accompanied him up to Khandala. Baba's appearance was sufficiently corroborating of his words. I am left a physical wreck. In the last letter, as he looked very delicate and pale, almost a skeleton, but in spite of these grave physical shortcomings, he looked quite fresh in spirit and a picture of cheerfulness. Baba's recounted movements. After leaving Lonavala on the evening of the 29th of November, Baba and Gustaji came to Pune the same night, where Behramji joined them. On the following day, Baba, Gustaji, and Behramji left Pune for Sholapur by the evening passenger train quietly, without letting even the local members of the Mandali be aware of it. Owing to crowds, the third class carriages were closely packed and there was just room enough to sit comfortably. But finding Behramji in a drowsy state at Dound, Baba inquired of the latter if he felt sleepy, and on his replying in the affirmative, made room for him to lie down. Hardly Behramji could drift away in dream land completely, then he was again made to get up. While he was trying to open wide his red blinking eyes, Baba began abusing him. Don't you feel ashamed to sleep when I am sitting awake? And so kept on teasing him till he was quite wide awake with anger. Sholapur. About midnight, they got down at Sholapur. Their unusual mode of traveling with stove, utensils, and such odd things without proper dress inspired a policeman to poke his nose in unnecessarily. His impertinent inquiries were retorted back by Gustaji, which led to a passage at arms with the representative of law and order. The policeman brought a ticket collector to his help, and the latter demanded the tickets. By now, Gustaji was quiet on the warpath. He told the ticket collector to wait at the door and ask them for the tickets there when they passed to the exit, as it is the rule of ticket collecting. Perhaps to end the tussle, Baba asked Gustaji to lead him to a water closet. Gustaji took Baba to the gentleman's lavatory and waited outside. But the jealous
Thanks, Mayor. That was lovely. Uh, Hari Priya, would you care to read?
Sure, Jai Baba.
Jay Baba.
But the jealous policeman followed them there and began to quarrel with Gustaji. By the time Baba came out, the station master was also on the scene. Baba thereupon talked personally with the station master, and in reply to his assertion that the lavatory was only meant for the first and second class passengers, Baba pointed to the board which said it was for gentlemen. However, the dispute came to an end when the station master took a reasonable attitude and the party left the platform. Baba asked Behramji to spread the bedding outside the station building, which he did. After sweeping away the dirt and dust which was liberally spread nearby, as best as he could under the circumstances, before they could sleep, a Parsi guard was seen to go out to the station, having just brought in a goods train. Baba asked Gustaji to approach him to arrange for them a shelter for the night. Gustaji found a gentleman very obliging, and he took them again to the station master and arranged for their stay overnight in the first class waiting room. The bedding were again bought in the station to a great charging for the fuming policeman. In spite of a comfortable vacant benches, Baba got all their bedding spread on the floor. Thus, it was nearly 3 o'clock in the morning before the party went to sleep. At 5 o'clock, Baba got up after a couple of hours of sleep and made two companions also follow suit. Behramji was sent to find out a place nearby where they could take breakfast, since none of them had eaten anything since the previous afternoon. Behramji reported that there was an ordinary Muslim restaurant about a quarter of a mile from a station, and the party started in a sorry, courage, courage, courage,
Carriage.
carriage for the same. On arrival, the hotel was found to be very dirty condition with myriads of flies buzzing around. When asked what could be had for breakfast, the attendant rattled out various meat dishes, but he was asked for bring bread and butter. Upon being served out, it was found to be in a stinking condition. So without touching it or even taking tea, Baba left the shop. A dry drive. The party looked a carriage and started for Navwar.
Took. The party took a carriage.
The party took a carriage and started for Navwar.
Started for nowhere.
Started for nowhere. That is just to have general ramble in and about Sholapur. In one locality, a big festival of a local saint was found to be in full swing. Hundreds of toy shops, etc., were arranged in that part of the town, and it looked quite a gala day there. For hours together, the party moved from place to place. When at last, at about 1 o'clock, they stopped their carriage at the site of a traveler's shelters, finely suited with plenty of open space all around.
Thank you so much, Hari Priya.
Thank you for sharing.
Ernie, could you unmute, please, and continue?
The carriage was dismissed, and they engaged a room there. The cook was ordered to prepare dal rice for Gustaji and Baramji within 1 hour, while the latter was asked to get milk for Baba. After the tramping and search for an hour for milk, Baramji came back all red and perspiring owing to the afternoon heat, and in a rundown condition through fasting, and reported that milk was not available at that hour. Quite a storm of hot and provocative words from Baba flowed out at this and made Baramji more red and hot, both physically and mentally. But at the same time, it also goaded him into one more search after milk. But this time, Baba added one more condition and told him to get milk before 3 p.m. to the second, under a threat that otherwise he will not touch food for 36 hours more. Somehow, Baraji managed to find a milkman who promised to get a buffalo from the jungle, specially for the purpose, if a rupee was paid per seer of milk. It was agreed upon, and a boy was sent for the animal in the jungle. Finding it long past 2 o'clock, Baramji left the milk vessel with the milkman, asking him to send the milk as soon as possible to the traveler shelter, and came to inform Baba that although the milk will be available shortly, it may take more than 3 p.m. Learning this, Baba got more angry with Baramji. and took him right and left under the excuse of his leaving away the milk vessel there with the milkman. However, the atmosphere became calm and breathable soon after, as the milkman brought in the milk in time. Baba took a little milk and asked the two to partake of the food which the cook had just made for them. Continued fasting. Thus, after almost 24 hours, the party had touched food and completed an apparently unintended fast, but really it was the beginning of a strict fasting program. Because while taking the excellent tea prepared by themselves with the pure fresh milk at 4 p.m., Baba declared that henceforth he will be taking food once every 34 hours. That too, only such liquids as milk, fruit juices, tea, etc., while Gustaji and Baramji were also ordered to eat and drink once after every 24 hours. To Akolnar. After tea, the party came back to the railway station and Baramji got tickets for Akolnar near Ahmednagar. The funds were exhausted and only 9 annas ought to have remained from the 5 rupee note that Baramji gave to the booking clerk towards their railway fare. But the latter, mistaking the 5 rupee note for a 10 rupee note, gave back to Baramji 5 nights, which he brought before Baba and informed him about the booking clerk's mistake. Baba immediately made him return the 5 rupee note back to the booking clerk, and they started by the night train for Dond en route to Akolnar. In spite of scarcely sleeping overnight, again, the night journey was undertaken, and the party reached Dond at about 4 in the morning. They got down there and boarded the Monmouth train.
Thank you, Ernie. Rolf, could you unmute and continue, please? Rolf must be elsewhere. And
No,
Elizabeth.
I'm unable to read. I can read a moment. Let me just step over here where I can see the phone. Well,
Yeah, I'm here,
well,
Eugene.
where-
If you want me
I
to
don't
read.
have the screen showing, Eugene, with the text. But let me see if I can find that. The text. Oh, Baba.
Swipe
Now I've lost
to
everything.
one direction or another on
Here
your
it
phone.
came.
Hey, Eugene, I'm here in case
Okay.
you want me to read, okay? Later.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Okay. No sooner had they settled in and removed their luggage than a ticket collector asked them to vacate the compartment on the plea that it was going to be reserved for the military. Again, a breeze occurred with the railway authorities. In the nick of time, however, Baba asked Gustaji to give in and change into another carriage. Hardly all the things had been removed into the other compartment. Then the train started, and thus the luggage got divided. However, bit by bit, by the time the station of Visapur was reached, all the things were collected back. At Akalner, Baba and Gustaji got down with the luggage, and Bayramji was sent to Ahmednagar with instructions to inform none save Rustam. the fact of Baba's presence in the near vicinity. Some sites were inspected at Akalner by Baba and Gustaji for Baba's solitary stay, but none came to his satisfaction. In the afternoon, milk was procured through a Muslim railway employee by name Ishmael, who was found to be very submissive and obliging. The tea was prepared, and tea was prepared. Bayramji returned from Ahmednagar, accompanied by Rustam, and also brought food, with which the two broke their fast in the evening. Again, a search after some good plot of land was made. A certain site came in for Baba's approval to some extent, and the owner, a retired Brahmin railway station master, who happens to hold extensive lands near about with a good many wells, was approached. He was requested to follow the use of a small part of his land for a sick man who wanted to stay there for a few days for a change. The gentleman readily gave in, and Rustam was instructed to bring a small tent from Ahmednagar. The night was passed on the railway station platform. The following day, Rustam brought in the tent and also food for Gustaji and Bayramji. The tent was pitched on the selected spot, but the party, including Baba himself, slept the night out in the open in spite of the cold November night. Excessive cold was felt in the early hours of the morning, when dry wood and leaves were collected by the party and set fire to warm their shivering bodies. In spite of having pitched the tent there, Baba did not quite seem satisfied with the place, and after some discussions, it was decided to repair to Erangel.
Thanks so much, Ralph. Beautiful.
Thank you, Jabba.
Jababa. Elizabeth now, please.
Aaron Gown. Accordingly, in the evening, Baba, Baramji, and Ismail came walking along the railway stations, where Gustaji came by the road in a bullock cart with the luggage, and all reached the good old post office building in the dark of the night, quite unknown to anybody in the village. In spite of the prolonged fast, Baba cheerfully walked the distance of 6 miles on foot. The beddings were spread on the open veranda on the north of the building, and the party soon retired for the night. At midnight, a heavy shower of rain came down suddenly, accompanied by a great thunder and lightning, although there were no signs of a forthcoming shower of any kind last evening. The sleep was disturbed for some time owing to this. Perhaps Baba left Akalner for this very reason of being disturbed by rain, while putting up in a tent in open land without any other shelter. In the dark hours of the early morning, Baramji went to the village and procured milk, to the great surprise of the party from whom it was taken, and to satisfy their immediate curiosity about his presence, told them that only he, Baramji, had come there, as Baba was to follow him in a few days after, and requested that till Baba's arrival, even his presence be kept unknown from others of the village. Even water was drawn out of the well at the same hour to avoid detection, and throughout the day, the party kept as much indoors as possible. Baba asked Gustaji and Baramji to fix up the tent in the post office building itself for him to stay in under the double roofs of the tent and building both. The tent was found to be difficult to stretch in the building, owing to the solid floor and walls all around. Baba became quite impatient and irritable at the consequent delay and began grumbling at the pair of perspiring workers. It made the job all the more confusing. So Gustaji addressed Baba in Gujarati. "If you don't speak in the middle, I will do it." Upon Baba agreeing to the condition, the two, after some more fumbling, managed to rig up the tent. Thereupon, Baba took his seat in there after locking from inside the door of the premises. In the absence of butter, Gustaji and Baramji had to keep contented with boiled rice and dal, which they took in the dilapidated mud hut, still standing just opposite the main building, to break their own fast of 24 hours. The following day, as per prearrangement, Adi came from Nagar and brought some butter. He was the next person in the Mandali after Rustam to know about Baba's whereabouts. After 2 or 3 days, Adi began bringing cooked food daily for Gustaji and Baramji to break their daily fasts with and save them the cooking trouble. Thus, they had nothing particular to do save lying low in Baba's attendants, who all the time kept behind closed doors, save for necessities or a drink after every 34 hours. Baramji and Gustaji all the while kept as much undercover as possible in the daytime and kept on bringing water and milk in the dark hours. Thus, for days together, Baba stayed near Arangown without even the villagers knowing, becoming the wiser of it. After the first week, however, Gulmai was allowed by Baba to accompany Adi at times and come to Arangown. By the end of the month, Baba came to Pune publicly for a day or two and put up in Sadashiv Patel's place in Kasba Peth. Hundreds of people came for his blessing there. Baba continued his fasting program. After that, he came over to Arangown, quite unknown to anybody. From the 27th, Baba fasted for 40 hours, keeping without any food or drink during that time. On the 31st of December, Baba and party left Ahmednagar for Bombay by the morning train, reaching there the same evening. In Bombay, they put up at Barucha building at Dadar in the suite of rooms Gajifdar had engaged for them under previous instructions.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. Beautiful.
You're welcome. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.